Hello, good morning, and a very warm welcome indeed to today's iOB business webinar. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. My name is Ben, and I'm the resident business coach here at iOB Business, and I'll be the one taking you through today's webinar presentation. Okay, so just before we get kicked off, a little bit about how these webinars operate, okay? We're going to take a brief pause in between each of the three core topics today to make sure that we get a chance to ask any questions and take down any notes as we go along the way. Okay, now, as we just mentioned, we're going to cover three core topics on a really, really important subject today. Okay, so as always, I hope that this webinar is valuable to you, and we're just waiting for everybody to join. Welcome to those of you that are already on here. Thank you very much for taking the time on this Friday morning. It's a pleasure to see you, and we will just wait a couple more moments for everyone else to get on. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to switch off the video camera, okay? And then we're going to answer the questions. A good point there in the chat. We're going to answer the questions at the end of today's Q&A session. Sorry, at the end of today's webinar during the Q&A segment. All right, so let me get that video camera switched off and let me pop the presentation that we have for you today up on screen there as well, okay? There we go, perfect. All right, so you should now be able to see the presentation that we have up on screen there for you, and you should be able to hear my voice. But if I could please just have a confirmation in the chat box, just let me know that you can hear me okay, and let me know that you can see the presentation up on screen okay. And what you should see is a screen that says how to develop an optimal pricing strategy for your digital agency. Now, I love this topic because it's something that is so important, but it's also something that's so interesting to go through. Now, every time I speak with somebody about this topic in a coaching capacity, we really uncover some interesting revelations, if you will, on how to develop your pricing. So it's a very, very good way to figure things out for the pricing for your digital agency. Okay, confirmation. Perfect. All good, Ben, loud and clear. Wonderful. Let's go then. So how to develop an optimal pricing strategy for your digital agency. Okay, so before we dive in, my name is Ben. I'm a business coach, and I specialize in working with small businesses, just like many of you on here today. It's genuinely a passion. I'm sure you can tell in my voice. I love being here. I love talking to you about this kind of stuff. So let's get into it. Okay, now, first of all, understand your personal requirements. This one is missed far too often, and this is when we find ourselves feeling a little bit like the business is running us instead of us running the business. Number two, understand the affordability of your market. Okay, this is crucial to understanding how much we can earn in any given market. And finally, analyze the market climate. We're going to talk about what the market climate means. So don't worry if that doesn't make a huge amount of sense right now, because we're going to cover that as we go throughout today's session. Now, beginning with topic number one, understand your personal requirements. Okay, now, first question I have for you, and the first question that many people ask, okay, when they open a business, is how much do I charge? Okay, that question must begin with you. Okay, now this is going to seem like a strange thing because you'll be on this webinar today and you'll thought to yourself, well, Ben, you're telling me how much to charge. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Okay, I'm telling you how to develop a pricing strategy, but I'm not going to say to you exactly how much you should charge, okay? Because that is down to you. But I'm going to tell you how you can figure out how much money to charge, okay? Now, the reason the question begins with you is because each of us will have our own personal earnings requirement, okay? For some, it's 1,000. For some, it's 5,000. For some, it's 10. For some, it's 500, okay? But what I really want you to think about here is, and this will, vary depending on whether you're in your agency full-time or you're thinking about starting up an agency or whether you're doing it part-time on the side. The question's got to begin with you, okay? Now, first of all, what you've got to do is establish the minimum monthly number you must earn in order to sustain or improve your lifestyle, okay? So we're all going to be at a different part here, and that's absolutely fine. We're going to be at a different stage. And what I want for us to do is have a think. How much money do you need to sustain your current lifestyle? Now, some of you may believe that, well, that's my salary, okay? So let's say that you're full-time employed and you're earning 3 grand a month from your salary. So then the natural answer would be, you say to me, well, Ben, in order to go into my business full-time, I would need to earn £3,000 a month. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is consider if this is actually necessary. Okay. Because what we're going to establish is, let's say that your main expenses are £1,000 a month. Okay. And then you have another £1,000 a month of lifestyle cost, and then another £1,000 that gets saved, right? Whatever. Now, This, purely in a business capacity, we have to think about how much money we actually need. Okay. Do you need the full 3,000? And this is what I want you to think about. Okay. How would it affect your lifestyle? And this is what we need to begin to understand. So you might be looking to sustain your lifestyle. You might be able to look into improve your lifestyle, or you might be looking to improve your lifestyle long term. So you think to yourself, okay, well, look, if I want a salary of £3,000 a month, but I move full time into business, it's going to make me £2,000 a month. But then over time, that's going to grow. Okay. And then that's going to allow me to improve my lifestyle because I'm going to be working less. I'm going to be spending more time with the family. I'm going to be doing more leisurely activities that I like doing, whatever that is to you. Okay. Whatever improvement of your lifestyle means. And it's defined differently by everyone. So establish what this minimum monthly number is and don't focus too much on what you currently have now. Think about what you actually need/want. Okay. Now, second, establish and understand the genuine amount of hours per month you can commit to your business. Okay, so you'll see we're working through a formula here. So next question, have you started a business yet? Are you in a planning stage? Are you working a business part-time alongside your job? Or have you went full-time in business, in digital agency world? Okay, so again, this question is going to vary person to person, but you have to then establish how many hours can you actually commit. Now, I don't mean okay, we're a little bit tired, so we don't want to at the end of a working day. I mean, what spare hours do you have, right? So I'm just going to give you an example here. Let's say you work Monday through Friday. This is the typical working structure. You work 9 to 5. Okay, now I know as much as anyone, working hours can run over. Sometimes you get stuck at the office. So let's say realistically, you're working till 5:30. Okay, now let's say that your train ride is a half an hour commute home. You've got to wait for the train and this and that. So let's say you actually get home at 6:30. Okay, so you need to leave for work at 8 a.m. and you get home at 6:30 a.m. Okay, now let's say that you wake up at 7. Okay, that's fair enough. You spend an hour getting ready for work. You leave for work, you go to work, you get home by 6:30. Okay, now we've all got different lifestyles. Okay, maybe you have a family to look after. Maybe you have, certain after work commitments you need to attend. Find half an hour or an hour that's free. Okay. Now, whether that's you get home at 6:30, you have dinner, you do all whatever you need to do, and then you're done all that by 8. 8 till 9, could you spend that on the business? And this is what I want us to understand. Could you spend that on the business? Okay. Even if you're working full time. Now, I'm using the most extreme example here because this is something that's really important to understand. Okay. Now, shift work works the same way. There will be gaps in your weekly calendar. So instead of an hour on Netflix, spend an hour on business. It doesn't mean, listen, I, as much as anyone, enjoy watching TV shows and relaxing because I feel like it's important to switch off as well. Okay. But commit, if you watch Netflix 3 hours a night, commit just one of those 3 hours to developing something within your business and make it consistent. You don't have to move mountains overnight, but mountains will move over time if you just commit to a certain structure. Okay, so think about this again. Where is the time? Okay, and again, you'll know that more than I do. So, thirdly, establish how many hours you must give to each project or client. That's your formula for your personal earning requirement. Okay, now let's say that we're full time. I'm just going to give you an example here. Let's say we're full time in a business and we can commit, let's say, just for round numbers, 25 hours a week. Okay, it's 100 hours a month. And let's say, again, for round numbers, that you want to earn, well, yeah, let's say you want to earn £1,000 a month. Okay, now you can commit 25 hours a week, or for round numbers, £100 a month. Okay, now that means that you must earn a minimum of £10 per hour. Okay, and you'll see where I'm going with this logic here. So you need to establish, first of all, how much money do you need? Second of all, how many hours do you have to give? Third of all, how many hours do you need to spend on each client? Okay, this is your formula. So let's just say that you needed to earn £1,000 a month. You have 100 hours spare. You need 10 clients at 10 hours a month each to earn X amount. And they need to be paying you, bingo, £100 each per month. Okay, now, why is that logic? Well, the client pays you £100. You spend 10 hours per month on that client. You have 100 total available hours in the month. You divide that number by 10. That equals 10 clients. Okay. And that gives you a grand total earning of £1,000 a month. All right. So that brings us to the end of topic number 1. Now that you have the formula, think it over. Please take this information, enjoy it, use it to your advantage, and I'll see you again in just a moment for topic number 2. Okay, perfect. So let's move ourselves on to topic number 2 now. Okay, understand the affordability of your market. Now, here's a really interesting thing that again isn't thought about enough in my opinion. Okay, certain products and services will be applicable to certain prospective clients. Now, we're going to talk about this in depth throughout this little topic here, but what happens far too often is we'll become focused on what we want to sell as opposed to what our market actually needs. Okay, now what does our market need? Well, that's going to vary market to market, but let's say that we're digital agency owners and we're developing services and products. Where do we go on how to decide which services and products to sell? Okay, do you want to create something and try and convince people to buy it, or do you want to sell something that people already need? Okay, pretty straightforward. You want to sell something that people already need. So figure out what your market is, whatever that might be. It could be salons, it could be restaurants, it could be personal training gyms, it could be whatever you want it to be. Okay, but you have to go to these businesses. Okay, even if not physically in person, you have to analyze them, understand them. What do they need? How could you make a positive impact on their business? Create that as your service offering and give that to them. Okay, certain products and services will be applicable to certain prospective clients. Okay, now here's an example that I'm going to give you, and here's something that I have seen happen firsthand. Okay, offering a £10,000 website build to a business earning £30,000 per year is unlikely, if not almost impossible, to sell. Okay, no, I don't like that word impossible, but we have to think logically here. Somebody who has a yearly earning of £30,000, okay, now let's say that 20% of that is profit margin. Okay, so doing my maths, what's 20% on 30,000? It's about £6,000 a year. Okay, now using that as our factor, do we think that they're going to spend their entire yearly budget to pay even half or just over half of this website? No, it's not going to happen. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that your £10,000 website is bad. It doesn't mean it's not going to do what you promised it to do. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, because I'm sure it does. But you're looking at the wrong market. Okay. You need to figure out where, if you want to specifically develop a certain service, you have to figure out where that's applicable, or go first to the market, develop a service based on the market. Okay. But offering a £10,000 website to a £30,000 a year business, it's not going to happen. Okay. So establish your level in the market by understanding the prospective clients you look to serve. Okay. Now, there's two main business strategies here. You can go high ticket, okay, at a moderate volume, which is essentially £10,000 websites once or twice a month. Okay, maybe even less than that, maybe once every couple of months. Or you can look to do £1,000 websites 4, 5, 6 times a month. Okay, either one is effective. Now, personally, the only thing I would say on this is the age-old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay, if you're selling very, very high level services to just one client every couple of months, you really are relying on that client. Okay, whereas if you're selling multiple at a lower cost, you're spreading out your liability. Essentially, you're making yourself less vulnerable or less susceptible to losing funds. Okay, because if your £10,000 client doesn't pay you for whatever reason, or it doesn't pay you on time, would that leave you in business financial difficulty? Possibly. Okay, so establish your level in the market by understanding the prospective clients you look to serve. Now, by level, I mean price point. Okay, so if we're looking at this, are we going to sell to gyms? Okay, because if we are, we need to understand how much the gyms earn and what price point should I go in at, and what's going to be a reasonable investment for them. Okay, now match your pricing to your ideal client's affordability. This is not thought about enough. Okay, and you can tell with the passion that I'm saying it in, it needs to be grasped fully. Okay, because we could have the best service, the best product, but if we don't know who we're selling it to or why, we're going to find ourselves having trouble selling it. Okay, now you could have something that's worth 10,000, but if you don't have a buyer, it's not worth anything. Okay, so match your pricing to your ideal client's affordability. Now, that brings us to the end of topic number 2. I'll see you again in just a moment for topic number 3. And thank you for the question. I'll get that at the end. Perfect. So let's move ourselves on to the third and final topic, analyze the market climate. Okay. Now, many business owners over focus on their competitors. This is part of, but not the whole picture when it comes to pricing strategy. Okay. We need to understand what's going on in the market and why. Okay. So, what we don't want to do is fall into the trap of pricing the same as our competitors. Okay. Essentially, delivering what they're delivering, but for a very slightly lower cost. Okay. Because why? Because then we're not unique. We don't stand out. We don't have a unique selling point. And all we're really doing is trying to directly compete for exactly the same audience. Okay. Now, whilst they may be your competitors, they might be in the same field as you, doesn't mean you have an identical audience. So consider this. Okay. Think about how you can develop something very, very slightly different to what your competitors are doing and be aware of their pricing, but don't necessarily look to replicate it. Okay. Unless you are in direct competition, which is very, very unlikely. Okay. So we want to be aware of what they're up to because we can learn from them, because we can figure out how they're doing, or, if they're having particular success in a certain field, we can figure out what's driving that success and potentially try and apply it to our own business. Okay. But this is part of the picture, not the whole picture. So be aware of what they're up to, but don't over focus on them. Okay. Now, it is important to gain an understanding of the consumer habits in the wider market. Okay, so what we're looking at when I say wider market, what we mean is across the board, what are people up to? Are they investing money into their businesses right now? Are they investing more in Google ads, Facebook ads? What is ad revenue doing this year? What are Google reporting? I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe to some point it was about 95 billion, I think, a few years ago. Is that going up? Is it going down? Okay. And this will give you an indication of consumer spending habits in the business world. Okay. Because people primarily run adverts for businesses. Therefore, what's happening? Are people generally spending right now? Are they reducing their spending? Even a 1%, I won't even try and calculate that. Even a 1% decrease in advertising spending can be massive globally. Okay. So it's important to gain an understanding of the consumer habits in the wider market. What are they up to? What are they doing? Okay. And that can apply to many, many different things. I'm just using paid ads as an example because we can actually see what revenue these advertising companies or, search engines are reporting. Okay. So prospective clients holding back on their spending right now, or are they investing more? Okay. So as I just said, it's pretty simple to go on and just get a general idea of what's happening in the market right now. Okay. Are you seeing, even in your feed, are you seeing less adverts, more adverts? Are you seeing particular topics? Is there anything that's up and coming? Do you continually see adverts for a certain type of business? Okay, and if so, would you be interested in contacting similar businesses to those and potentially offering to run adverts for them? Okay, let's just say that you keep seeing footwear adverts for e-commerce stores. Okay, would it then be worth contacting e-commerce stores and saying, hey, are you running ads right now? Chances are they probably are, and they would be interested in hearing what you have to say if you could give them a better deal. Okay, this is how we need to think. So this is the final piece of this pricing strategy puzzle. Climate means generally in and amongst the market, what's happening? Okay, what's going on? What does the market climate look like right now? So it's the final piece of your pricing strategy puzzle. Okay, so that brings us to the end of topic number 3. It's been absolutely fantastic sharing all of this with you. I genuinely love talking about this. So questions are so welcome, as always. Do let me know if there's anything specific you would like me to go back over or anything that we can help with. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take one final brief pause. Then we're going to recap the session right before we go into the Q&A for today. We always get some wonderful questions, so please do feel free, and I'll see you again in just a moment. Perfect. So let's move on to the recap for today's session. Number 1, understand your personal requirements. This is where it all begins, okay? If the business isn't providing you with what you need, the business isn't going to last. Number 2, don't overestimate your market, okay? Understand your level and pricing strategy and where to go with your services. And finally, understand your competitors, but focus on yourself, okay? This is very, very sound advice that I've received myself and something that I would love to pass on to you. Okay, so as always, a massive thank you for taking the time to attend today's session. It's been a genuine pleasure. If you'd like to talk to a member of our team, you're more than welcome to head over to iob-business.com/talk. And on there, you can book a call at a time that suits you. So I'm just going to bring up the questions that I have from you. Perfect. Okay, so first question, how do I know if the market is investing more? Great question. Okay, listen. Information is power, okay? Read newsletters, keep KPIs on your own projects and prospects as well as being in social media groups with your ears to the ground, okay? So make sure that you just are in tune with everything that's happening. Be in social media groups, for paid ads, for business services, for small businesses. What is everyone up to? What's everyone talking about? Okay, because ultimately that's where you're going to get the best information from real people talking about real topics. If you're in a group for small businesses, what are they talking about? Are they scared of spending right now? Are they investing more? What are they doing? Okay, keep your ears to the ground. Read newsletters like digital marketing newsletters, advertising newsletters, because they will tell you what the market's up to. Okay. Keep KPIs on your own prospects. If you've spoken to 10, how many of those are closing right now? Are they scared of spending money? Are they scared of investing? Or are they happily investing in digital services? Okay. Now, I know this isn't always the easiest thing to do, but digital marketing services as a whole are moving along very, very nicely and have been for a very, very long time. Okay. So hopefully that answers the question. Thank you very much indeed. Next question, how do I know who my market is? Okay, cool. So listen, within reason, you can decide who your market is, okay? Where do you want to enter the market is the question that we should be asking. More premium comes with more effort or requirement for the client, okay? But usually more reward as well. So let's say that you wanted to go premium because almost everyone at the beginning wants to look at premium clients and premium services, which is fair enough. But what we've got to understand is premium always better, okay? And this is what we have to ask ourselves, because if you're going to spend, if your client is going to spend £5,000 a month with you, what's the expectations on that for you? Okay, what kind of quality do you have to deliver? Now, you're always going to deliver quality, but what I mean by that is you have to be exceptional. Okay, now, if you were delivering a service at £500 a month for 10 clients, would you have to be, the best of the best of the best? Or would you just have to be very good, very competent, and doing your best for the client? Okay, this is a question I want you to ask yourself. So, yes, premium will bring more money and more revenue, not always necessarily more profit. Okay. And we've got to think about effort, time, how much we're able to actually deliver as well. All right. A fantastic question. Thanks again. Okay. Do we have any more questions? It doesn't look like we do. Okay. Well, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you ever so much again for taking the time to join today's session, and I'll see you again on the next one. Take care and bye for now.